Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha, for providing those brief instructions. Much appreciated. Good morning, everyone. My name is Celina Dorame. I'm the Manager of Engagement Capacity with the First Nations Public Service Secretariat. I'm also a member of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation here in North Vancouver, which is where I'm joining you from today. But this territory is also shared with Musqueam and Squamish too as well, so I'd like to acknowledge that. I do have a brief presentation for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about FMPSS and what we do and some of the activities that we do and ways in which we support comprehensive community planning. This is a relatively small group, so honestly, it can be very informal. If you have a question, just put it in the chat or even feel free to turn on your video and audio. It's perfectly fine with me. Next slide, please. So very quickly, I think a lot of people are pretty familiar with FMPSS at this point. We have been reiterated or revised or updated and are back again after we were operating probably about 10 years ago with the same mandate. So our mandate has not changed since then. So we are here to strengthen and enhance the capacity of First Nation communities and organizations on an individual and nation level. So overall, our plan is to create and implement a collective plan to support BC First Nation communities. And we focus on a few core pillars as far as capacity building goes. And so it's human resources management, policy development, records and information management. Finance was one of our pillars before, but we don't really focus too much on that anymore since our new iteration in the beginning of 2018, because there are a lot of other organizations and institutions that support that financial management work, like FMB and AFOA. In addition to those other three core pillars, we've moved into supporting mentorship and other types of training. Communications has come up as a huge one as well. So we're really kind of just taking listening since we've been operating again in the beginning of 2018, listening to First Nation what the needs are. Capacity building is still a huge issue. This is not, it's not brand new information, but we want to start from, what the current landscape is for communities and try to support that in any way that we can. Next slide, please. So some of our activities, first and foremost, like I said, First Nation engagement. So that is the way that we determine the work that we do. And so we actually have completed a number of engagement sessions just this year. We had several sessions for band administrators and several sessions for chief and council to kind of, again, revisit the current needs of communities so that we can determine our direction for the next 3 to 5 years. I can share a one-pager that I have, an infographic kind of just touches on at a high overview all of the things that we've done, and it has some specifics around our First Nations engagement. Training, so a wide variety of training which can be found on our website. I know that there's a one-pager listed too as well, which has some of our upcoming activities, but there really is a lot more. So some of our training, like I said, we focus on human resources management. We have a series of management training academies, which are meant to be an introductory session on HR or an introductory session on policy development, but it has that First Nations lens on it too as well. So right now they're virtual. We did deliver them in person in 2019. We did about 10 workshops throughout the province. And then with COVID, we packaged them up virtually, and they're now 3 half-day sessions on records and information management, policy development, and HR. We actually have an HR session coming up next week, and there's still time to register. So if you're interested in doing that, the link to register is on that one-pager that was provided in the kit. The speaker for our HR session is Tanya Thomas, actually, and she's from Williams Lake Indian Band, and has a wealth of experience. So if you're interested, please join us next week. We'd be happy to have you. In addition to those core pillars, we're also working on, we've done a number of nation-to-nation sharing webinars on a variety of different topics. When COVID happened, there was the huge need to share information amongst First Nations. And so FMPSS kind of led the way on providing a space and a platform for nations to share and chat amongst each other. as well as communications training. So we've partnered up with FNTC and we did some stream-in webinars with them on virtual engagement. And what that looks like with a community and with First Nations. We've also supported a number of other organizations with their own virtual engagement, the Leadership Council, and even Non-Sumat Tribal Council too as well. Mentorship and networking. So it was a huge ask that First Nations were like, we need mentorship. We need to be able to support our young people coming up. We need to be able to share our knowledge amongst each other. Why are we all working in silos? So we wanted to provide a space to encourage the mentorship and the networking opportunities amongst First Nations. And so at every event and in any conference or anything we've ever done, we've always created a space for that, for folks to chat amongst each other and share things that are working and not whether they're working or not working. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here. Oh, thanks, Bronwyn, for sharing some of that information. And Bronwyn can talk a little bit more about the mentorship and networking too as well. She kind of leads that for us here at FMPSS. Toolkits and guides. So we've drafted a policy development guide. We have a records and information management toolkit too as well, which is currently being updated this year. It was drafted during our previous iteration. And it essentially is from A to Z, everything you would kind of need to implement a records and information management program in your community. So there's a specific records classification plan that's unique, specific to First Nation governments. And like I said, it is being updated this year. We've also recently drafted and created a assessment tool, a records and information management assessment tool. We found that folks who attended our management training academy on RIM said this was a wealth of information, but it was a lot. And now I feel like I don't know where to start because you kind of want to tackle everything at once, but that's really not the best way to do it. So we developed a assessment tool essentially to do it on a department basis where you go and you interview some of your staff about the RIM practices that you currently have and identify policies, processes, and documenting all those things that you need to in order to start a plan by a department. Like I said, it's really hard to just say, we're going to do RIM for our whole organization. It's an unrealistic goal, and it's kind of hard, and it sets you up for not a good place. So the assessment tool, we started that this year, and it was done in a pilot. So it was the tool combined with an actual virtual workshop. And we had about 5 First Nations who participated in that and assessed a department. And then they were given an actual RIM subject matter expert to kind of help them with some next steps in their RIM program development. So they were able to identify some key projects to move forward with their plan and or just bring their findings to leadership so that they had some further support going forward. Partnerships and intergovernmental coordination. So FMPSS we heavily rely on our partnerships, so we don't ever claim to be the experts. We work with federal government, the provincial government, and a number of other First Nation organizations too as well. And we pull in those folks as well as individuals like yourselves working in First Nations that are experienced to pull together some of this training. So we also act kind of as a coordinating body amongst all of these groups too as well, because one of the biggest needs or that we heard from First Nations was that I have to go to 15 different websites to get information that is specific to my community or to First Nations in general. So we act as a coordinating body amongst all of those groups to kind of streamline the information that is most relevant to community. And research and advocacy, we don't do a ton of this. It's kind of done kind of at an ad hoc basis. The need for capacity building in First Nations is not, like I said, it's not brand new information. So we do what we can as part of that coordinating body to share what we've heard from communities and advocate in that way. Next slide, please. And so this is just a quick snapshot at some of the stats from March 2018, which was when FMPSS was began again after losing some funding. to now to February 2021. So 63 events, 43 of those were webinars. So like when COVID happened, it was a challenging time for sure, but it definitely expanded the reach that we were able to connect with communities and just provide training, information sharing webinars on a more on-demand basis. And so it has worked out really well for us and FMPSS. I like to think we do a pretty good job at doing virtual events. And so we will continue to be doing those. And at some point, a hybrid of going back to community and delivering those workshops in person too as well. So 13 management training academies, like I had mentioned earlier, 7 conferences. We typically do an annual conference. We've had a few virtual shorter forums or conferences, and 90% of those have been BC First Nation participants at all of our events. So a total of 5,000 folks attending our events. There's another one pager that I think we've shared that has it's a much more prettier infographic of some stats for FMPSS if you're interested. Next slide, please. The mentorship network. So if it's okay, I might hand it over to Bronwyn to talk a little bit more about this. She is our lead for FMPSS on our mentorship network, and as well as supports the CCP, which now kind of flows through FMPSS too as well. So I'll hand it over to you, Bronwyn, to share a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Celina. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. I'm Bronwyn Geddes, and I'm joining you today from Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh territories. I live near the Fraser River, and yeah, pleasure to be with everyone today. See a lot of familiar names. So yeah, FMPSS does fantastic work. It's been a real pleasure to do some contract work with them and have the opportunity to work with a great team there, and super responsive. So when things come up that are needed, FMPSS is in there to meet that need, which was seen during as Celina mentioned, during COVID, with all of the responsiveness of the webinars, the weekly webinars at first, and then they expanded out to monthly, but lots of great work happening. The mentorship network is something that started just before COVID, and it started with the administrators and pulling together a group of about 6 really experienced administrators who were agreed to be mentors to newer administrators and to work with them one-on-one in the new year. But of course, when the new year came, COVID had hit and there was no in-person visiting, and most communities were so overwhelmed with the work that was going on that there wasn't a lot of time for one-on-one. So part of the webinars too was bringing the administrators to a bigger audience by having them share in these webinar style settings and sharing their experience with COVID, with other things, with various topics, and to share some of their expertise on a broader scale. So we're still doing work, and now brought in the elected leadership mentorship network, which started at ISK, and ISK asked FMPSS to help do some of that coordination work, bringing elected leaders to do one-on-one mentorship and also group mentorship. And COVID has really slowed down the process, even with CCP mentorship, which has been around for a long time. There's been just the mentors are busy people and want to help so much, but are pulled in so many directions. So the emphasis has really been on more group style engagements. We have been meeting with mentors and trying to bring them in, and some of them have willingness to do one-on-one, and a lot of them say they'd love to, but would prefer to do group sessions or kind of flash mentorship, sort of answering one-off questions. So we've got some fireside chats lined up, which are going to be great opportunities for people to hear from really experienced elected leaders, chiefs, counselors, also sessions for administrators, and sessions for ongoing sessions for comprehensive community planners as well. So there'll be the group sessions and then some one-on-one happening as well throughout the rest of the year. We have a pretty active Facebook group, the First Nations Administrators Network, And I can pop that link in the chat in a bit if you're interested in joining. It's a great place for people to ask questions, and it's starting to become more and more active with people responding and asking for sample policies and documents or links to various resources. So it's becoming a good networking space, kind of similar to the Conference of Community Planning Facebook group, and constantly growing. But yeah, so the mentorship network includes various things like the networking, sharing resources, training. We're also doing leadership training, and that is geared towards current and aspiring leaders in community, either elected or otherwise, and webinar series, and some of the one-on-one that we're trying to keep going as well. So there's all those different elements to the mentorship network in all the areas: the Conference of Community Planning, the elected leaders, and administrators.
Thanks, Bronwyn. I think the slide deck that you currently have is not the most up-to-date one. So we were going to actually do a demo of our events calendar, which we can wait until the end. But I just wanted to also add the coaching circles for the mentorship network. We also have coaching circles for our MTAs that are specific to HR, policy development, and RIM, as well as the leadership series training too as well, that I believe is starting, and there the registration link is on that one page or two as well. But I'd also like to just mention we are currently working on a band administrators orientation course too as well. So that is essentially kind of a very quick, a high overview of kind of what a band administrator would need to know when they jump into the role. So whether or not you've worked in a community and you have an idea of what that is, but now you're being thrust into the role, or you're, an outsider kind of joining a community and learning what that actually looks like. So it's supposed to be a multi-week course where it covers everything that you would need to know, all aspects of being a band administrator and some of the competencies required for doing that. Thanks so much, Bronwyn, for posting that. There's also pre and post election training that we're currently working on too as well. I don't think it's quite ready yet, but some of the things in the works that I just wanted to share with you. The best way to stay up to date with FMPSS and what we do is to sign up for our newsletter. We send them out at least every 2 weeks, sometimes weekly, depending on the number of announcements and events and things going on. So we encourage you to sign up for that if you're not already signed up to as well. But I think the next couple slides are still for you, Bronwyn, to chat a little bit more about CCP. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, this is the updated one. I didn't realize that. That's okay. So I'm happy to do the demo. I just wanted to show you our events calendar on our website. So if I have screen sharing capabilities, yes, I do. I will pull that up fairly quickly. There it is. All right, hopefully everyone can see that. My participants list is gone, but you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or tell me that you can't see it.
No, I can't see your.
Nope.
It's still the slides.
Oh, then maybe I'm not sharing the slides, so maybe.
Samantha, could you pull the slides so that Celina can share?
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, now can we see them?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the FMPSS website, FNPS, just one S.ca. If you go to events, FMPSS events here, it'll pull up our calendar. So like I said, we have our HR Management Training Academies coming up. So they're featured in the order of which they're going to be delivered. Also the Foundations of Leadership course, which we just mentioned as part of the mentorship network too as well. But we also feature, in addition to FMPSS events, you can check out other organizations. So this one is specific to FMPSS when you first click the link. But if you were to just remove this filter, then it would pull up other events too as well. So like I said, we are a partnership organization. We actually have a protocol in place with 9 other First 8 other First Nation organizations like AFOA and NFMB, Lab too as well. So we pull any public information about their events and we put them here too as well. So it's all kind of streamlined, and that's kind of the purpose or what we've heard from First Nations, that we want to be able to go to one place. The Technology Council too as well. We're actually working with the Technology Council to also update the Knowledge Network, which might be a website that you're more familiar with, but it definitely needs some updating on the back end. The technology on the back end needs to be updated for sure, but we're working with them, and hopefully that is going to be the hub, the one spot, and the one-stop shop for everything else. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight this. Leadership Council events too are also here as well. There's a couple different views. You can view the whole month here too as well, and anything coming up, whether or not they cost money or when registration closes and things like that. And then once you click on an event, it'll take you to the individual web page where you can find out more information about that too as well. So we're constantly updating it. You can sort by a few different things here. So like I said, please be sure to sign up for our newsletter. Any events posted there are also going to be profiled here too as well. And now I think I can hand it back to Bronwyn.
Thanks, Celina. Yeah, it's such a great tool, that events calendar. Just really go to fnps.ca, click on events, and then search. And it's amazing to see FNPSS doing some of that coordination work and bringing all these different pieces of work together. So if you could go to the next slide, Samantha. The FNPSS is also involved in coordinating a lot of this CCP work. That's going on this year. There is mentorship, as I mentioned previously, and we have some faces that you'll recognize from the planning team for this workshop who are supporting the mentorship this year. Lara and Robbie and I are working with the CCP mentors and coordinating some of the mentorship activities that are happening there in terms of the flash mentoring, the sharing circles, which again have been hard, just COVID, the fires, the residential schools. I mean, it's been such an intense and busy time, but the mentors really are committed, and we're getting them geared up to do some of these sharing circles in the fall, the small group work. And the monthly gatherings, been meeting every month. It's a community of practice. People can drop in and join, come and go as they please. Next month, the featured mentor is Kara Basil. So encourage you guys to check that out if you're interested and come along to a meeting. Next slide, please. Also part of the community of practice, which I just referenced, that meets monthly. We also put out a monthly newsletter that has updates on things that are related and might be of interest to those involved in CCP work. Funding announcements, opportunities to connect, promotion of the next community of practice and whoever the speaker is for that kind of thing. Some reflection tools. It's been kind of nice. We have, I think, about 300 people on that mailing list already, which is great. A lot of them from previous CCP workshops. And next slide. And a couple of other things that we're working on through this, what we're calling the Community Learning Network, is a CCP planning tool, which is going to be featured. Jeannie Hill from Humalco and I are going to be speaking to this in the next breakout session. It's pretty neat. It takes the CCP handbook, which many of you have seen, and turns it into an online tool that supports community planners as they go through the planning process. It has all the various steps and stages of the planning process you might go through, allows you to put in start and end dates, where you're at, whether it's completed, not yet. You can track engagements, communications, automate some of the reporting for planning to show you how many people you've engaged with, in which kind of categories, what % complete you are. It has a Gantt chart to help you figure out what you should be doing this month with your planning process, and allows you the users to store all of their documents in one place related to CCP, so that if the community planner moves on, the community does not lose all of the work and information that went into that process, but it's all in one place. So design with mentor planning team, and pretty excited to showcase that and hope to get some people on board and using the tool. Some more people, that is. Lastly, networking space. We have this space set up that allows for mentors to upload their profiles, and it's a searchable database and has discussion boards, internal messaging, chats, service provider ratings, has all these amazing functions. And we've been working hard to try and get people on it because, of course, a platform is only as useful as the content on it. And so we're learning that it takes quite a while to build up some momentum and steam for a platform like this. But almost every meeting or event I'm at, people are talking about, I wish we just had like a space where we could meet that's not Facebook, that's private, that allows us to manage all the interactions and connect only with the groups that we want to connect with. And this is kind of a space to do that. So we're trying it out with the CCP mentors at the moment, and seeing how that goes. So it's been an exciting year with lots of great CCP work happening. And I think with that, we're getting towards the end of our time here. I don't want to keep you from your 15-minute break. The next slide has some contact information on it for Celina, and then a way to get in touch with me too, and for some of the mentorship activities. But I'll pass it back to Celina and to the group if there are questions. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Bronwyn. Much appreciated. It is a relatively small group, and just in the interest of time, I'm happy to take any questions. You can do a hand raise or just unmute, turn on your video. Hi, Ernest. Always lovely to see you virtually.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're just sharing the good news of FMPSS, you know.
Yeah, I just joined. I was in the New Relationship Trust one that kind of wrapped up quickly, so I figured I'd join and see what's going on here.
Sure. Yes, Christopher, the slide deck is available on the website, and I think actually in Slack. And if I may, who's our Sam, if you can stop screen sharing, there's one other infographic that I don't think is on the website that I would like to share with you. That I mentioned. So we just updated this, and this is our snapshot kind of some of the things that we've done since March 2018 to now. So virtual networks are learning, supporters, some stats here on just how many folks that we've engaged with too as well, and some of the activities. So we've established a lot in just a few years, and so we're going to continue to build on that. And again, this is all based off of the feedback that we hear from First Nation community members and those First Nation public servants working in their nation. So I can share this too as well if you'd like to have a copy of it. I'm happy to share that too as well. Thanks so much. Any questions? It is now 10:30. I do realize it might have been a long 2 days or yesterday, which I think went really well. So I don't want to keep you from your break, but you can always email us directly, myself or Bronwyn or anybody else on the FMPSS team if you have any questions about training or anything coming up.
Actually, I have a question, Bronwyn, if you don't mind me asking real quickly here. You had mentioned that you have a database that's for CCP mentors or mentorships. Is it exclusive only to CCP mentorship, or are you planning maybe expanding this one day to maybe include something bigger, and maybe something even regional in the future, maybe?
It's thanks for the question, Chris. It's absolutely ready to be used by any group that would like, discussion boards and a space to network and connect, and it's set up to have people upload their profiles. We just need the traction to get it going. So if you have an idea of how you might see it used, then would love to arrange a demo for ISK to show you where we're at. ISK provide a lot of the support to build the technology, and we'd love to see it used in communities. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that, Bronwyn.
Thanks. So I'm gonna head off to the CCP planner session to get up set up there, but I'll leave you guys and to either chat with Celina or to your breaks. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Bronwyn. Much appreciated. Sam, are we technically over our time or?
Yeah, so the room is going to close shortly
Okay.
automatically. If you guys want to stay and chat, you're welcome to, but just be prepared that it might close. But if you are ready to leave the room, just in the bottom corner at the,
Oh, it's
yeah, it
closing in
says closing in
15
56